Okay, so here is our first problem. We want to solve for all values of x in the following equations where x is between 0 degrees and 360 degrees. Okay, so we start the solution by having 4 sine 2x equals 1, and this implies sine 2x is equal to 1 over 4. Okay, by simply dividing both sides by 4. Now, to get the value of 2x, what we could do is we take the inverse of 1 over 4. Okay, so from here, you need to use your calculator to compute for the sine inverse of 1/4. And if I do that, so I have 14.48. Okay, now you have to be careful. Okay, once you reach this part of the solution, because aside from 14.48, there's also another value for 2x, in which the sine inverse of 1/4, or the sine of the 2x rather, is equal to 1/4. Okay, so it's like, imagine, so you got 14.48. So this is your 14.48 value for 2x. That's the angle. Okay. Now there's another angle that will give you 1/4. And since the sine is a positive number, and the sine can only be positive on the first and on the second, then you have to find the other angle whose reference angle is 14.48 on the second quadrant. Okay, so how do we measure that? So this is the angle that we need. That is simply 180 minus 14.48. So 180 minus 14.48 is equal to 165.52 degrees. Okay, so aside from 2x equals 14.48 degrees, the other value for x is equal to 165.52. Okay, so that means, so 2x, to get the x, so x is equal to 14.48 divided by 2, and x is equal to 165.52 divided by 2. So this will give us, okay, so for the first x, that is around 7.24 degrees, and for the other x, we have 82.76. Okay, note, however, that it says the value of x is between 0 and 360, and 7.24 and 82.7 are still far from 0 and 360. So we need to see if the other angles, whose reference angle, can be used here. Okay, so that means if you go back to our angles here, we need to check if one more cycle from 14.48 could still be a candidate for 2x. Okay, so if I have 14.48, so that's 14.48, I'll try to make another cycle, so that means plus 360, and I'll be able to get 374.48. So that also could be a value for 2x. Okay, so that's 374.48. And then at the same time, we could also check for the 165.52, if we will do one more cycle, one revolution, that's plus 360. So if we add 165.52 plus 360, that's about 525.52. So another possible source for the x is that when 2x is 525.52. Okay, so we have 5, so 2x can also be 525.52. Before I continue, just want to make sure that you understand where the two angles are coming from. Okay, so we are getting, okay, so first we already got 14.48. Okay, that's coming from the 2x. And then we just want to check if one more cycle, so plus 360, one more revolution from 14.48 can also be used to find the x. Okay, so 2x can also be 374.48 degrees. At the same time, we also considered the 1 coming from 165.52. If we do one revolution, so plus 360, can that still be a possible source for the value of x? So we got 2x equals 525.52. And we considered these two angles because the limit of x is from 0 to 360. And if you look at the first x that we obtained, these two angles are like 3 quadrants more before you reach 360. These two angles are from the first quadrant, they're less than 90, and the limit is up to 360. So there is still, small numbers. So we need to consider other angles by checking one more revolution from each value we got from the 2x. Okay, so to continue, so we now have 2x equals 374.48, and then we divide by 2. So we have x equals, you just have to compute 374.48 divided by 2, and that should give you 187.24. And then we also have 2x is equal to 525.52. That's our value here, divided by 2 and divided by 2. So 525.52 divided by 2 is equal to, so x is 262.76. And from here, we could already see that the values that we obtain are still within the limit 0 degrees to 360. Okay, now we could check, like, what if we do one more cycle for those values of 2x? So if we check, so one more cycle of 374.48, that's another 360. 374.48 plus 360, that's already 734.48. So we could say maybe an x could still be from 734.48, but if we divide that by 2, the value that you will get is already, so you have x equals 367.8. 24, which is already above 360. So if we would consider 525.52, which is a bigger angle, then definitely that will give you an x that is already bigger than 360. Okay, so all in all, so the values that we obtain for x are x equals 7.24 degrees, x equals 82.76, x equals 187.24, and x equals 262.76. So these are the four values of x that are between 0 and 360 that will give you, or that will satisfy sine 2x equals to 1/4. Okay, the meaning of that, if you place each x here and compute for the sine, then you will get the value 1/4. Okay, so just a recap on the solution. So this is what we did here. First, you need to work on the inverse for the sine 2x and get the values of 2x. Okay, now if you notice, we didn't go directly in finding x. So once we reach this part of the solution, we didn't go directly to x, but rather we look for other possible values of 2x. Okay, so because the 2x is your main angle, okay, this is your main angle, so the values that you have to consider are all coming from 2x. Okay, so do not get the x immediately, find out the 2x, and then after that all you have to do is to divide them by 2. Okay, so I hope you understand the solution to this particular problem. So if you see something confusing, sometimes you just have to watch again that part of the solution, and hopefully it will be clear the second time around. Okay, so that's all.